Good evening, Brian. It's Thursday, and that means it's time for a Thursday Top 5. So today's Thursday Top 5 is going to be a little bit different. It's similar to topics I've done before, but still slightly different and not the same, so I hope it's enjoyable. So the topic is podcasts that no longer are running or updating or releasing new episodes. Now that might seem a little bit weird at first. Why would you want to talk about podcasts that have ended? But the nice thing about it is, if you enjoy the shows, you don't have a never-ending supply of podcasts to catch up on. There is a finite amount of podcasts that were made, and then once you're done with them, you're done. It's not like signing up for a new thing that's going to release an hour-long episode every week, plus a backlog that you have to work at while they're still releasing a new episode every week. So it's kind of a nice little thing to add if you have a little bit of a spot in your podcast lineup, because these are all shows that have ended and I think are good. So the first one I want to talk about is called Neutral. It is hosted by three people who do other podcasts that I like. A couple of them have shows on the Relay FM network, but they started it initially just to have an opportunity for them to talk about cars. I'm not super into cars. I never was one of the people that was really interested in cars and sports cars and all of that, but these three guys have such a really cool chemistry. It's really fun to listen to them talk about whatever, and in this case, cars. I think there's only 12 episodes, and then they actually went on to start a different podcast after this. So it's a very small thing, but it's fun to listen to them talk about things. You learn things you didn't know about cars, and it's just a good time. Another show that I want to talk about is called Check for Traps. This only had 2 episodes ever, actually. It never really got off the ground. But the host is a guy, Jonathan Strickland, who does podcasts for How Stuff Works. And this show was going to be all about sort of explaining D&D, the rules of D&D, how to play D&D, and I think he'd also possibly had planned on sort of setting up a campaign and would talk about the campaign in each episode as it went along. So it never got anywhere, but those 2 episodes were still really fun to listen to, and I'd love to see it come back. It was still neat to hear him go over the basics of D&D and to learn about that. And it was just neat and kind of a fun little thing to listen to for a moment. Another one is called Limetown, but it's the story of this secret military, governmental, experimental town that was set up in the mountains, where these people were brought there and they were testing top secret government research for like weaponry or other things like that. And then the town just vanishes. And it's set up as if it is somebody like reporting on and uncovering this thing that happens. But it was super compelling, super gripping. It only went for 1 season, and then it hasn't officially announced that it stopped, I don't think, but it hasn't updated in over a year, so I'm pretty sure it's done. But it's really cool, and it's a great story, and it's really well done, and I really think you should check it out. The fourth one I want to talk about is called Stuff Mom Never Told You. This is another podcast from the How Stuff Works network, and is one of my favorites. It deals with feminist issues and other issues of gender or sexual minorities. It deals with all kinds of things that are related to tangential to gender and sexuality that are sort of not things that most people would think of. It tackles lots and lots of issues, but it's really great. The 2 women who run it are super smart. It just ended recently, and I'm really sad, but I definitely feel like I'm a better person for having listened to it, so I definitely would recommend it for anyone else. And finally, the last one I want to talk about is one that I've mentioned to you before, Brian. It's called Virtual. It was a show on the Relay FM network. It was Mike, the co-founder of Relay FM, and another host, Federico, talking about video games, and I loved this show. It really just got me back in being interested in video games, and it sort of has come back in a new form as remaster, but I really like Virtual more. I think the chemistry between Federico and Mike, I think, is just better, and now that they have a third host, still it's a little bit different. So Virtual, I don't think there's too many episodes, but they're all really neat. It is sort of back in the past, so you hear like video game news and history from that is no longer current, but it's still really fun to listen to. It's really fun to hear them geek out about games, and it definitely makes you want to go sit down and play a video game. I think that's it for this video, Brian. I hope you enjoyed this Thursday Top 5, and I look forward to seeing your video tomorrow on Friday. Have a good night.